Nice to see you again on my channel. Let's dive into the new story and try to resolve it together in the comments below after watching this video. Get comfortable and let's begin. Hello, my beloved and valuable listeners of my channel. Today we have only one, but a big and crazy story. I apologize in advance for some details, as the story includes explicit facts about the protagonist's life. Well, let's begin. She lay there on the ground, sweat dotting her brow. Her dress was sprawled out beside her now naked form. The man between her legs was thrusting into her hard and fast, grunting as he did. She was urging him on, her face telling me more than anything. Looking at her through the binoculars, I knew that what I was seeing was not a rape. They had walked up to the little knot of trees holding hands like the lovers they were. Deep inside me, my heart was breaking. Proof, in my face, of what our problem was. Looking at her with him on top of her, I saw a woman in need. That it was my wife, and I was not the man on top of her was the thing that was wrong with the picture. How this had come to be I still didn't know, but I would find out. As of yet, she was unaware that I knew of her straying. I planned to keep it that way for a while yet. Sex between us had been good over the years, but in the last year or so she had fell off on wanting to do it. I thought at first that it was just her going through some kind of hormonal change after having healed up from having our third child. I could see now that I was mistaken about the reason. She was still the loving and caring wife to me. A wonderful mother involved in her family's lives. This was a side of her I had just suspected her having recently, and a phone call from an anonymous caller had tipped me off. I think the caller may have been a jilted girlfriend of the man between her legs. What was I going to do now? I had them on film, well, digital camera that is, and I had some emails between them too. I had gotten her password and done some snooping one night as she slept in our bed. The emails hadn't been all that damning, but the tone and affection being freely given to a man not her husband was all that I needed. I knew the man. He was a local insurance salesman and married. Tom Harper, man about town, and all-around good guy. Yeah, some good guy all right, good at messing up other people's marriages maybe, certainly not a good person deep down. I crawled back behind the little grove of trees I had been hiding in as I filmed the lovers, and getting up I started to walk to my car. She was standing in front of my car when I got there. I knew her. Mrs. Tom Harper. I wondered if she knew why I was here. So, you just saw them up there? Did you get some good shots of them doing the dirty? You know then, Ann? Yeah. I'd suspected Tom for a while. This was to be our day out and about, but he suddenly had an emergency. He should have known that I didn't buy that. He's an insurance man, for Christ's sakes. Insurance men don't have emergencies. What are you going to do, Ann? Well, I was hoping you would let me have a copy of that tape first of all. Maybe if you have some other proof of them cheating on us too. I have some evidence myself. I'll trade you even Steven for it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Not sure? Not sure? Are you crazy? They are cheating on us, lying, sneaking around, and fucking each other, having an affair. You're not sure what you're going to do. Well, in spite of everything, my wife is loving to me at home, and she is a good mother. I don't know if I want to divorce her or not. You're not one of those kinky guys that likes to watch their wives fuck other men, are you? No. Look, I'll give you what I have, you give me what you have, but leave me out of your party, okay? I need to figure out what it is I want to do here. You are a strange man, Dave, a very strange man. Your wife is cheating on you, and you are not sure what you want to do about it. Yeah. What can I say? I gave her my heart 15 years ago, and I just can't take it back in a few seconds now, can I? Besides, we have 3 kids, and I'm not sure what to do about them either. I love my family, and I don't know what I'm going to do. It's all a bad nightmare for me. You just found out, didn't you? You just now got the proof you couldn't bring yourself to believe, didn't you? Yeah, there was some email the other day, But this is the first actual visual proof I've gotten of her stepping out on me like this. Then you aren't aware of the others? Others? Other men. She's been out with several other men. Several at a time too, I'm afraid. I found out because one of those men had a wife that found them in her bed fucking, 4 of them, 3 other men and your wife. She filed for divorce and then told me. My Tom was one of the other men there that day. Had she punched me in the stomach, I could have been no more surprised. There was more than just Tom fucking her. She was doing several men at a time. My wife? My Nikki? A common slut? It couldn't be. I couldn't believe it. And must be making it all up because of Tom being with her. I have proof. That lady gave me pictures and some movies the guys had made. Her husband wasn't that good at hiding them, it seems, and during their divorce those movies cost him dearly. Very dearly. You have movies? More than one? Oh God. I threw up. I was standing outside, thank God, else I would have made a huge mess in my car. My Nikki a porn star on top of everything else? What had happened to her? Why? And stood back a bit with a concerned look and was quiet as I finished up my very embarrassing episode. After I straightened myself out a bit, I stood up straight and wished that I'd not come here today. I was thinking I really didn't want to know all about it after all. Okay, do you have a computer at home? An email address would be nice. Why don't you just come over to my place and copy it off there? I can give you copies of those movies and what else I have too. It will be easier. I followed her to her place, the whole time thinking about what I had just learned that morning. Not only was my wife cheating on me, she was cheating on me with many other men. Group sex and other things that I just couldn't bring myself to think about at that moment. At home later that day, I watched one of the movies. I couldn't believe what I saw. Nikki taking men every way possible. Even anally. She had never allowed me to do her back there, yet here she was in a movie with 6 men, and by the end of that movie she had done all of those men. All of those men had visited each hole in her body too. It didn't matter what order either, that was the part that really got to me. I sat there in my den, my whole world coming apart all over the place. I had made arrangements to have the kids stay at Nikki's parents' house that night, and her mom had been curious as to why. I told her that Nikki and I were having some problems and we had to work them out tonight. I could see that her mom knew something that I didn't, but she didn't leak it to me. I was sitting in the living room when Nikki got home. She wasn't expecting me as I was supposed to have been on a 3-day business trip and I had left that morning. As she walked in, the men behind her were grabbing at her dress, flipping it up. You guys, someone may see. Knock it off. We only have a couple of hours till the kids get home, so we'll have to be quick. Maybe tomorrow we can all meet up and have a real party. I'll make arrangements for the kids to stay at my mom's and... Oh God. No. She had finally seen me sitting in my easy chair. The men behind her had seen me already and were making for the door as fast as they could. I suppose the .45 Rugers sitting on the coffee table in front of me may have had something to do with that. I had grabbed it up when I saw her arrive and the other 3 cars pulling in behind her. It had only taken a second to get it out of the lockbox in my den. Dave, what are you doing home? I wasn't expecting you. What happened to your business trip? Didn't have a business trip, Nikki. I faked it. I followed you instead. I saw you with that asshole Tom Harper, then his wife met up with me. She had some interesting things to say, and then she gave me some porn tapes. You seem to be a movie star, dear. Nikki collapsed on the floor in front of me, crying hard. Her shoulders were shaking and I could see tears pouring off her face dripping onto her dress. I got up and closed the door that had been left standing wide open. Looking at her, I could feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, nothing. It surprised me. I went out to the kitchen and after getting a soda pop out of the fridge, I sat out there thinking. Dulled senses and a horrible empty feeling kept me from having any kind of emotional response to it all. I just sat there sipping on the soda, staring off into space. Dave? Honey. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I just sat there not moving, not talking. Hell, I was hardly breathing. I don't know how it all happened. I just don't know how it got so far out of hand. Out of hand? Like you planned on just one guy one time? Maybe just having an affair with one guy? Maybe just one party with a bunch of guys? Out of hand? That kind of out of hand? Nikki burst into tears and fled. I sat there like a stone for several hours. Literally. 3 hours later, I got up and went to the bathroom. As I walked past our bedroom door, I heard Nikki in on our bed still crying. She was on the phone to someone. I got out of the bathroom and just decided I needed to get away. I entered our bedroom and went to my dresser. As I began to gather up clothes to take with me, Nikki began to beg me to wait. Hanging up the phone, she began to beg me to let her explain it all to me. I ignored her, not talking or even showing that I recognized her as being in the room with me. By the time I had packed 2 suitcases, she was near panic. Dave, please wait. Can't we talk about it? Please? I'm sorry, I don't want to lose you, please. Nikki, you lost me when I saw that first movie of you. Before that, I may have been able to handle it all and maybe even have forgiven you. Now I realize I don't know you. You're a stranger to me, Nikki. I don't know you at all. What I do know about the new Nikki, I don't like at all. I can change. I changed once, I can change again. I will be true to you. I know I messed up, but I can change back into being your faithful wife. I love you. I can't live without you, Dave. Please, give me a chance to prove that to you. I'm going away for a while. The kids are at your mom and dad's. You will have to pick them up. If you have time between all your, fucking around, that is. I'll be in touch. Goodbye, Nikki. I left her there in the bedroom. I went straight out to my car and throwing in my clothes, I went back and got my 45. I had nothing else in the house I wanted or needed now. I couldn't drum up even the littlest bit of anger or hurt. I was just numb. I went to a motel for the night, and since it was still early enough, I called around and got an attorney, making an appointment for the following day. Sitting in the motel that night, I went online with my laptop and made some money moves in our accounts. I still had a broker account with an online firm in my name only, and I moved a large chunk of money into that. I left Nikki half, though I was tempted to take it all. I left it in the end not because of her, but because of the kids. Our savings I took all of except $15.08. I hoped Nikki would catch the significance of that amount, 15 years and 8 months of marriage, all that she had left now. Knowing her though, she probably wouldn't catch that, at least not right away. I called her mom and told her that I had moved out. I didn't tell her why, but I could tell that she had more than an inkling about why. Nikki was very foolish, Dave. You know she loves you though. Are you sure you can't fix it up between you? I don't think this can be fixed, Mom. Nikki kind of went too much overboard and I can't see this being fixed. I love her. I do, but she went and did something I can't forgive her for. I hope that you and George won't hate me. I still love you guys too. We'll be here for you, Dave. I know that Nikki messed up real bad. We will always love you too. If you ever need to talk. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate that. Maybe, when this all simmers down, we can have dinner or something some night. That would be good. Until then, Dave. Night, Mom. Having heard about divorces before, I knew that right now was the shocking times. Everyone would still be trying to figure out what happened and why. Pretty soon the blame times would come, then that would be followed closely with the anger times. After that, it all broke out into differing things. I wasn't sure when the anger and pain would hit me, but I knew that I needed to be in a place I could call home before it did. A motel wasn't the best of places to be while going through pain and anger. I decided that I would search for an apartment the next day too. The next weeks were hell. I found a place to rent. The lawyer advised me about many things I hadn't thought about or even realized I needed to either. Nikki was all the time on my cell phone or work phone trying to talk to me. I wasn't taking her calls though. My lack of trying to talk to her was driving her crazy too. Pretty soon she began stalking me. When I'd show up for work, she'd be at the door. I would walk past her, not letting her stop me or even acknowledging she was there. This went on for several weeks, then one day she wasn't there. I didn't realize that she wasn't there until I was sitting at my desk. I had a strange feeling right at that moment. A kind of loss and sad feeling. She had given up. We had given up. It was over. My attorney called that afternoon and told me that Nikki and her attorney had made an appointment for us to talk about the divorce. I told him fine, and after setting up the date and time, I hung up. I still had work to do, and while I wasn't behind, it was the busy time of the year for us. Yet, I just sat there at my desk for a long time staring off into space. That night the anger hit. It came out of the blue, and when it hit me, I wanted to go hit someone or something. Later, I decided that I wouldn't nurse that anger if I could help it. I began to work on ways to prevent this whole thing from swallowing me up and making me a bitter, lonely person. I refused to allow what Nikki had done to our marriage to interfere with my life now. If it could only have been so easy. I went to work the next morning in a pretty upbeat mood. Even though my personal life was falling apart, my career was flourishing. I had never been one to bring work home, nor had I ever spent long hours on work. Usually my workday ended at 5 o'clock and I wouldn't think about it until the next morning on my drive to work. 90% of the time I kept work at work. 10% of the time, well, at times things would get sticky or troublesome on some particular job and I'd find myself thinking about it while off work. Usually I'd give in and let it be in my mind for a bit, knowing that if I didn't it would bother me all night or all weekend as the case may have been. One thing that Nikki couldn't say about me was that I put work before her and the kids. That was what had been bothering me so much about all of this. I still couldn't see why she had ended up doing what she had done. It just didn't make sense. I had thought our sex life and home life was great. I know over the last year it had gotten a bit weird, but looking back on it I realized it had been Nikki, not me. She must have been doing it for the last year. I began trying to think back in our lives and seeing if I could pinpoint the time frame she would have started to be this way. For the life of me, I couldn't pick out anything. It just seemed to suddenly happen. I was at work 2 days before the appointment with the lawyers and a coworker came up to me looking quite uncomfortable. He was nervous and not looking me in the eye. "What's up, Dan?" Dave, I have something to tell you and I'm not sure how you'll react to it. It is very personal for me and you. Can we talk somewhere off the job? Okay, how about at McGilly's at 6 tonight? We'll have a few and talk. Actually, I want you to come to my place. My wife, damn, she thinks that I need to show you something. It's about Nikki. I know you two are having problems right now, but I don't think you know about this. Can you just follow me home tonight? My wife told me I need to tell you. She also wants to talk to you too. Okay. I guess I can do that. After Dan left, I sat there wondering about what he had found. I didn't know him real well, nor did I know his wife. Matter of fact, I hadn't even known he was married. I was curious and a bit afraid of what they had to show me. That night at Dan and Julie's place, I found out that I was a movie star too. It was so shocking that I first thought that they were messing with me. I couldn't believe it when they showed me what they had either. It was quite a scene for a bit. Dan's wife turned out to be very good at calming dark waters, and Dan was very helpful too. Dave, I wish I could say it was good to meet you under far better circumstances. Yeah, me too, Julie. Dan told me you guys have something to show me? Yeah. You know we need to keep that we told you this or showed you this kind of quiet. Dan's job isn't too intrusive, but you of all people know that the company has all those morals clauses and all. Morals clauses? You guys aren't swingers, are you? No, oh God, no. Dan, you better tell Dave about our hobby. Hobby? Yeah. Dave. Julie was trying to tell you that we cruise the internet a lot. We are both writers of sorts and we go to some sites that accept, erratic stories. Oh wow. I've never known a writer before, let alone two of them. What's the big deal there? Well, we write sex stories for some of the sites. We get paid for some of them, but most are just posted on the net. We actually have a following now, and it's getting to be that we are known here and there too. Well, that's not so bad, but I know what you mean about the company finding out about something like that. I can also see why you didn't want to talk about this at work either. I'm cool with it though. I won't tell anyone about you guys, matter of fact. I may want to go read some of your stories sometime. Julie was watching us as Dan struggled to tell me the big thing. I could see that she was nervous about it all too, so I decided to try and diffuse the situation a bit and ease the tensions. Look, I know that you want to show me something that probably involves my wife Nikki. You know that we are having problems right now, matter of fact, we are getting a divorce. She has been messing around with other men and I found out. She's sorry about it all, of course, but in a few days we meet with the divorce lawyers and hash it all out. Don't worry about me. I can handle anything you throw at me now. Julie gave me a look that sent a chill down my spine and broke in. You don't understand, Dave. You are what we found on the net. At one of the sites of, shall I say, lesser standards, we found you in a movie. I sat there waiting for the punchline, yet feeling that scared, sick feeling of knowing that there was none to wait for. I was confused now too. What do you mean? I've never been on film or tape doing anything other than acting stupid at a wedding a few years back. That wasn't anything worth watching anyway. Julie turned to Dan and took his hand in hers. Looking into Dan's eyes, she spoke to me. Dave, what we are about to show you, we talked about. We don't think you know you are on film. We think that you were secretly filmed. Without you knowing about it. You and Nikki both were in the film. Nikki, she knew about it. You. Dan was sure you didn't nor don't know about it. He thought you needed to know and fast. Okay, show me then. I'm confused now, but if it's as bad as you two are acting, I need to know so I can do something about it before the company finds out about it. What they had to show me shocked me to the core. Anger was the least of my emotions too. I couldn't believe that Nikki would or could have done something so cruel or deceitful to me ever. It left me colder than finding out she had been cheating on me too. They, Dan and Julie, had found a movie on this site that was starring Nikki, and I was a bit part player. I knew nothing of it at all. I watched it and watched it, not understanding how I could have missed anything like what had to have gone on to capture me on film. The movie started with me kissing Nikki while on my way out the door one morning. I even remembered the morning because for the first time ever, Nikki was wearing a bathrobe she had just bought the day before. Before that, Nikki had never been one to wear bathrobes. She had always been a sweatshirt and shorts kind of gal. I kissed her on my way out the door, looking just like normal. The camera followed me as I walked out to my car, and then it followed me as I drove down the street. The camera person had to have walked out in the street to catch it as they did, and for the life of me, I couldn't remember anyone having been out in the street at all, ever. That morning had memories for me too, in that I had almost called in sick. Nikki had woke me up with a blowjob that morning, but not letting me come. I had dressed after my shower with a still raging hard-on. She had told me to keep that thought and she'd have something for me that night. The part that really bothered me was after watching this movie, I realized that she had done this without my knowledge, acting, well, like my loving wife. A very good actress, as I hadn't caught on or even been able to tell I was being filmed. I had drove off that morning with a still raging hard-on, and it had been a long, long day for me too. That night she had met me at the door naked. The kids had been farmed out to her mom's, and she jumped my bones as I walked in the door. What really got to me was I knew I had really gotten worked up that day, and we had oral sex first. I had just gotten inside the door and Nikki started on me. I had ate her out on the couch a little bit later. We had been so into the moment, or at least I had been. I couldn't recall how wet she had really been. Right after seeing the movie, I about lost my lunch. Well, the part where I came home again anyway. A narrator had been talking as I drove away. Dave is leaving for another day at work, while Nikki is getting ready to have her day at home. Dave is the ultimate in a cuckold. He's off slaving all day long while Nikki is at home being a slave to men. Lots of men. She's got him trained right. He lets her have other men because he can't do anything for her like they can. Being the wimp that Dave is, he knows that in order to keep Nikki, he has to let her have other men, and he has learned to be okay with that. I was just sick. Humiliated and sick. I sat there in Dan and Julie's house, watching my cuckolding in a movie. Like I had been a part of the making of it all. As the movie went on, I discovered that I had been caught on film that morning with Nikki's blowjob too. How had I missed it? How had I not seen someone else in the house with us? I had barely made it down the street and Nikki was naked and fucking 3 men. A second group was in the background waiting their turn too. The film went on all day long pretty much, and Nikki was fucked almost constantly. They never missed a hole Nikki had either. She took it everywhere. About 10 minutes before I got home, the men all cleaned up and left, and the camera person and Nikki had a chat. Note here that I said the men all cleaned up. Nikki didn't. She just wiped her pussy and tits off. In the chat, Nikki told a bunch of lies about us and about me. Things I couldn't believe she could do. They talked about her and needing other men to make up the difference in my shortcomings. Then, as I walked up the sidewalk, the camera person stepped into our hall closet and filmed Nikki getting naked and on her knees waiting for me to open the door. They caught her blowing me, sucking my cum down her throat. They filmed as I led her over to the couch and spread her legs wide open and licked her pussy until she had an orgasm. They followed us as she led me by my cock into our bedroom, where she fucked me royal. Parts of it were broken up into short segments, and I realized that there must have been another camera person in our bedroom too. In all of it, my cock was never really shown. I have about 8 inches worth, yet they talked like I was very tiny. And I hadn't even had a clue. They were good. Very good. Nikki had been good too. After our sex in the bedroom, I had taken a shower, and while I was in the shower, the camera persons left. Nikki was waiting for me when I got out. I was stunned into just sitting there while Dan and Julie sat next to me. Julie was holding my hand and Dan had a hand on my shoulder. I finally just gave in and let some tears flow. I couldn't believe that Nikki could have been so cruel as to make me out to be a wimp and cuckold. How could she have done that to me, her husband? It was almost more than I could take. Dan broke the silence after a bit. There are 3 more movies with you in them. It gets worse. You are made out to be a real wimp, and since I know you, I know that isn't true. I also talked to my lawyer, and he told me that this site is going to get into serious trouble over this. We believe that you knew nothing of what was going on, and he said without a signed agreement from you, their asses are hanging way out. He also advised us to pull our works from the site, which we did yesterday. We found out about the movies 4 days ago. They have been up for a long time though. I started to get mad. Real mad. Dan and Julie saw that I was losing it, or about to, and they started talking to calm me down. Dave, what's done is done. You have to think now. Think. You may want to hurt them like they hurt you, but you need to hurt them where it will do the most good. Think now, use the system and nail him. Hit him in the pocketbook. Hit him with everything you can while you're at it too. You are about to see your soon-to-be ex-wife at the lawyer's too. You will be able to use this movie to land her into so much hot water she'll be lucky to not end up in prison over it all. What they did in filming you like they did is illegal as hell. They are making money off of you, and you aren't even aware of it at all. So, get even by hitting them legally? Yeah. Our lawyer is an entertainment lawyer. He knows all about copyrights and permissions and agreements in the film industry and music industry too. He told us you have an ironclad case against not only Nikki, but the movie makers and the internet site too. That night changed me. It changed me deeply. I no longer was afraid of a life without Nikki. I was now angry, as I should have been all along. I was now ready to do battle. A battle that would end up sending Nikki and her friends to jail if I had my way. A battle that could end up making me very wealthy too. The meeting with Nikki and the lawyers was a huge success. I had just enough time to see Dan and Julie's lawyer, who, being familiar with the case, somewhat already agreed to take me on too. He came along to the meeting at the lawyers, and I also was prepared with clips and photos too. It started out as a get Dave to drop this silly divorce thing and get back together meeting. After about 5 minutes of listening to Nikki profess her love for me and her undying faithfulness from then on, I finally got to have my say. Well, Nikki, you kind of have me at a disadvantage. You say you love me and want to be faithful to me from here on, yet I have some evidence that says otherwise. Evidence that could end up sending you to jail too. What? What are you talking about, Dave? I've done nothing wrong other than cheat on you. No, Nikki, you seem to forget that you made movies too. Movies that have found their way onto the internet. Movies that have me in them as well as you. Movies that defame my character. Movies made without my permission or knowledge. In my home, on my property. Even in my bedroom. All made without my permission or knowledge. As I was talking, I laid out the photos. My lawyer set up and started the clips from the movies too. Nikki went white as a ghost. She was stunned to say the least. Her lawyer was talking as fast as he could, trying to stop it all, demanding proof of our evidence. I just looked into Nikki's eyes and shook my head. To think that I would have been willing to talk to you about getting back together. I was, I was actually thinking that I could trust you to be honest with me. Until a friend showed me a certain site on the net. All of the movies and these photos show that I could never trust you. Ever. You are as big a liar as I have ever seen in my life. You not only cheated on me, you filmed it all in porn movies and made me out to be a wimp cuckold husband. You made me to look like an idiot. Maybe I was for not catching you filming me like you did. Maybe I should feel like a wimp cuckold too, but for one thing. At the time, I trusted you. You were my wife who loved and cherished me as I did you. I thought at that time that I could trust you with my life. Now I know the truth. You have never loved me. I'm not sure what you felt for me, but love isn't in that mix. We are finished. Take your lawyer and hope like hell that he can keep you out of jail. Bitch. I turned and left the room. My lawyer spent a few hours in there with her lawyer, and in the end Nikki gave up everything. I got the house, the kids, and the cars. I even got some of the money back that I had left in the accounts. I left the $15.08 on the table for her. She finally got it in the end. She was looking at the money, and then it dawned on her. 15 years, 8 months. I saw her mouth the word 15 years. My lawyer started suits against all her lovers for alienation of affection, the movie makers for illegally filming me without my knowledge, the site for making money on the illegal films, and then most of it was turned over to the local bunco squad who had a heyday with it. I sued the company that made and held the movies, and the internet site that posted them. In the end, for my pain, embarrassment, and defamation of character and everything else, I got over 7 figures in payment. It cleaned out both of the companies involved. Nikki didn't go to jail, though it was a close thing. She did end up having to serve probation, and it went on her record too. It's been a few years now, and I've moved on. Not having to live with the cloud over my head any longer is nice too. I met a nice and very beautiful lady while attending the trials of those who had used me so badly. She was a reporter doing the story. We ended up having a date that led to more. We've been married for 3 months now and are happy as can be. My new wife can't understand why Nikki let me go like she did, nor why Nikki did the things that she did. My new wife has told me numerous times that I'm the catch of a lifetime as far as she's concerned. One thing my new wife knows: I'm definitely not a wimp. I'm also definitely a catch too. Of course, I know my wife is a real catch as well. She can cook, and she can love and make love too. She also loves the kids too. For that matter, the kids love her. They don't have much to do with their mom anymore either. Some of it was due to the courts not wanting her influence near them. Seems that some courts do have standards still. Her parents were in shock when it all came out. They pretty much disowned her when they found out Nikki had intentionally used me as she had. They have little or nothing to do with her anymore. They do, however, have a lot to do with their grandkids and me. They even love my wife Sue too. Nikki? She lost weight during the trial. A lot of weight. Later it was discovered that she contracted AIDS. What more can be said of that? The kids and I had been already getting tested for AIDS because of Nikki's group activities. We tested for about 1.5 years like clockwork. We tested negative each time. I was worried about that for the longest time though. The guy that had originally filmed her, and then later on me too, was found guilty of several charges, and he is serving his time currently. 10 to 20 in the slammer. He had a few friends that joined him in that too, by the way. One of the camera persons was that guy's wife who turned state's evidence on him when she found out she was looking at hard time too. She got off with probation. In the end, I guess it all worked out for the best. I still can't believe that Nikki had me so fooled for so long. At one point, I think she did love me, but she got under the influence of those men and it all went bye-bye from there. She will pay the ultimate price too. I wouldn't have, nor did I wish that on her though. Sometimes life can be a harsh mistress. For some anyway. If you've made it to the end, you're the person I'm trying to reach and read these stories for. Even though I trust people less after them. Click subscribe, like, and see you in the next video. Guys, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate that you have devoted your time to my work, specifically on this channel. If you subscribe to the channel, I will be happy. But if you decide to talk to me in the comments about this story, I will be even happier. Stay tuned for my next story on this channel.